I wanted to talk briefly about the big band setup and what I prefer. I think it's really important in terms of the rhythm section, and that's going to be my focus right now, to consider having the bass stand behind the drums and have the drums move forward so that the drummer's bass drum is pretty much in line with the chair of the trombone player that is going to be to the drummer's left, right? So the drums are here, the band is to the left of the drummer. In fact, I really frankly recommend that the bass drum go all the way to where the beginning of the trombone music stand is, or the trombone riser is, right? So have the bass drum of the drummer be positioned there. The bass player is standing behind the drummer, next to him or her, as if the bass player was another member, an extended member of the trumpet section, right? So now, because the bass player is standing there, he or she can hear the band really clearly. I like to use a microphone whenever I play. I don't have a lot of leakage. I don't have a lot of other instruments going directly into my microphone there in that position. I'm still very closely connected to the drums. I can see everything the drummer is doing. I'm this far away from the hi-hat. I'm very close. It's great. It's a great place to be. And then, by the bass player having moved there, the piano can now be brought closer to the drums and the guitar as well, right? So they're both brought closer to the drums, and it's almost as if the drums are being surrounded by, bass at their back and piano on the side, and the guitar is probably in front somewhere. And the drummer has an even closer connection to the horns because the trumpets are slightly behind him, the trombones are directly to his left, and he can even hear the saxophones better because he's closer physically to the saxophone, he or she. So I would suggest experimenting with that kind of a setup and seeing how that feels with your band. It's the way that we do it in the Clayton Hamilton Jazz Orchestra, and I've done it that way in many other big band settings, and it's worth trying. Good luck. Hi there, I want to talk about the left hand and the right hand in playing the bass. Left hand considerations. So let's say that we're in what they call this half position, right? And you've got to play, for instance, an open G string, but then you want to move up in half steps. So your first finger is going to play the A flat. Your second finger is going to play the A natural. Fourth finger, not the third, the fourth finger is going to play the B flat. And that's how the fingers work. When I press down with the fourth finger, all of my fingers are down. With the second finger, when I push down, my first finger is also pushing down. And so that's how that goes. Whenever you are playing with the left hand, you make the adjustments and the measurements based on what your ear is telling you. In other words, I've got to make sure that that A flat sounds the way I want it to, and if it doesn't, then I make an adjustment with my hand. Once I find out where it sounds best, then I can really figure out how to grab that note every time. That's where your thumb works as kind of an antenna. So your thumb is telling you what's going on back here, right? And then I know, based on where my thumb is, where to put my fingers. Okay, so those are a couple of really important things to remember. Also, your hand shape. Your hand shape should look more curved like this instead of flat. So when I play flat like that, I have less control over the notes. And the way to help your hand shape be more effective is to have your thumb on the back of the neck, the back of the fingerboard this way. When I have my thumb back there, it makes it easier for me to have that hand shape that we're talking about. If my thumb is over here, now the palm of my hand is grabbing the neck. And that makes it a lot more work to play the notes with my fingers. Sometimes I feel like I have more strength doing it that way. Actually, I don't. I'm going to have and build more strength in my fingers if I get my thumb back here. Also, it's really important to think of placing this part of your thumb, not the flat part of your thumb, not the flat part of the thumb, but the upper edge of your thumb. It's almost like throwing a frisbee. You grab a frisbee, right? You throw it that way. So basically you take that hand position and you transfer it to here. Boom, now you're good. So my thumb is not forced so that it's flat against the back of the neck. If you do that, what happens is you will force your fingers down to grab the notes, and you create so much tension, which eventually will become painful. So we want that frisbee idea that I just talked about with the left hand. Also really important, not only the hand shape, right, but also to play on the tips of the pads of your fingers, right? So you don't want to play on the tip of your finger, and you don't want to play with your finger flat. You want to play on the tips of the pads, and that's going to give you more control and a better sound. When I press the strings in, I press them really firmly into the fingerboard, right? If you don't, then your note's not going to be singing. It's not going to be really pure and really clear. That's why it's important to press firmly, not to the point of pain. If it hurts, back off, stretch, shake off, whatever. If you're playing in the band and you can't stop, that's when you resort to the emergency methods. Maybe you're going to have to grip it like this for a while until the pain subsides and you're more relaxed. Then you go back to playing normally. Okay, so that's something to really keep in mind. The other thing is, since the thumb really is kind of like an antenna for us, we can always look straight ahead. We don't have to keep looking at our hand to see where we are, because our thumb is helping us remember where we are by feeling the back, that back contour there, right? So it's really important to always look straight ahead. As you start moving up the fingerboard, then you just kind of start measuring where you are. So I'm going to keep my hand shape that distance there, and I might put my first finger where my fourth finger is, and then I'm going to have this note that I'm looking for. So it's a combination of feeling, and when you can't feel something like right here, that's where the measuring comes in. The other thing we want to remember is with our left hand is keep our fingers close to the strings. If we start moving our fingers, they have these flyaway fingers, it's going to eventually get really tiring and it's going to be a waste of energy. So as I play, I try to keep my fingers as close to the strings as possible. Saving that energy is going to make a big difference later on. Let's talk about the right hand. The right hand, how do we do that? Basically, you want a real comfortable, like you're standing around, just chilling, you know? That's the posture that you want when you play the instrument. So you take that, the instrument is brought to you, and your right hand basically comes up like this and comes over. And we place our thumb on the edge of the fingerboard, right? So not underneath the fingerboard, right? Instead, boom, on the edge of the fingerboard. And after it's on the edge of the fingerboard, I move my hand all the way down to where, to the end of the fingerboard, closer to the bridge. That's going to give me a nice, powerful sound. If I'm looking for another timbre, another kind of sound, then I might move my right hand and I might play. Also a good sound. In most cases though, I'm going to have it down here. The thumb on the side of the fingerboard is really important. Remember that your fingers, once your thumb is there, your fingers are pointed toward the floor, toward the bridge, right? So I basically, once again to review, bring my arm up, it's comfortably straight, not rigid, comfortably straight, just kind of hanging at my side. Bring the whole thing up, bring it over to the fingerboard, thumb on the edge of the fingerboard, fingers pointing down, touch the string. So right now I'm touching the D string with my forefinger. Touch the string and allow the next string over, which is the A string, to stop my finger. So it's like this. I'm going to play the A string, the E string will stop my finger. I'm going to play the E string, of course, there's no string here to stop my finger. G string, I pull it, the D string stops my finger. And that's basically how we maneuver all of that, right? So your fingers, again, are pointed toward the bridge. Another style of playing is to have your fingers parallel to the bridge. My thumb is still on the side of the fingerboard. Instead of pointing down this way, I now angle my hand this way. That makes it easier in a lot of cases to play with the first and second finger, or even the first, second, and third. Up to you, but often it's the first and second. So those are a couple of ways we can angle our hands in order to pluck the string. Now, when my finger is pointed this way, I actually try to angle my hand like this. So instead of flat like this, thumb's here, I now position my hand like this so I can get a piece of the string. My finger is actually, you can see it sort of wrapped around the string instead of like this. Just a bit, and then I'm getting a piece of the string and then letting the next string stop my finger. And that's going to give you a nice powerful sound as well. So the other things I want to remind you of with the right hand is to not pull to the point of pain. So what you probably notice that my arm really isn't even moving that much. If I use too much energy, I'm going to get tired and often I'm going to experience pain. So not only is my arm really relaxed, but when I put it over here, I don't try to do all of that. To me, that's too much work. I just get put your hand over here, grab the string, get a big sound. That's all. Big sound. So if I'm going to play whatever, a scale, a blues, that's all it takes. I've got a big sound and I'm really relaxed. So those are some right and left hand things that you can think about and experiment with. I hope it helps. Thanks.